Greetings viewers. Today we've got Mageia. It's the first version of it to be released. It's based off Mandriva. Mandriva, the project had a few issues, financial issues, and the backing of the corporate entity behind it, a little bit uncertain. Anyway, without further ado, I'm just going to run it up in VirtualBox. It's a very nice distro. So you can see it's got this nice splash screen. Everything's nice and consistent with this splash. Yeah, you do see a bit of text here, but there we go. We've got a nice splash, and it boots rather quickly, which you'll see in a sec. So I've been criticised for leaving some of this process stuff in the videos. I don't take it personally. It's just that I prefer to leave it in there to give you an idea of how fast this thing is, and particularly it's running in a virtual machine. I've given it a bit more RAM, about 800 meg. I've only got a 2 gig machine, so you can appreciate, and for those who are not tech savvy, that's 2000 meg that I've got on this machine. So you got to be careful with the amount of RAM you use. You don't want to cannibalize from the host system. So, but anyway, as you can see, it's coming up nice and quickly. Even though it's running in a virtual machine, the performance seems to be a little bit better than Linux Mint, which I tested just not long back. Although admittedly I gave it a little bit less RAM than I probably should have. Hopefully I can upgrade the RAM on this system and keep it going nice and smoothly. Or look at getting a 4 or 6 core processor in the future. I'm testing the GNOME version, as you're likely to see there. So we'll just let it do its thing. It's almost up. That's interesting. Black background. Didn't have that problem yesterday. Ah, there we go. Excellent. So I'm running it in the 1920 by 1080. First thing I noticed was that this wallpaper, although it's nice, doesn't really scale well at this resolution. You'd see if I'd shown it in this the smaller resolution, you would have seen it. Now I've just previously had OpenOffice running, so you can appreciate that that ran up. So as I said, the boot splash is nice. Strangely enough, when I installed it, it had some downloads after the install. I found that a little bit odd. Also, you might have noticed on boot that the boot logger failed. If we actually go Control F1, oh, it's not showing it. Yeah, okay. Well, in previous boots I've had it shown that the boot logger failed. It's an interesting failure. So it's a nice calm theme, as you can see. It's got its own special theme, and if I bring up a window, we'll just bring up something. Well, we'll bring up Firefox. Give it a sec. Interestingly enough, it didn't have the. Had a bug in Debian where if you've got the LibreOffice Quick Starter running, or the OpenOffice as it is in Debian stable, yeah, it won't let you shut down until you kill that process. So as you can see, it's a nice theme. I really like this theme. I think the presentation is professional. Of course, it grabs this theme from Mandriva, or Mandriva, as some people like to call it. I've probably got the wrong pronunciation there. As I said, the speed is quite reasonable considering it's running in a virtual machine. Let's take a look at its RAM usage. And see, once again, it's quite quick. Resources rather. Yeah, well, yesterday after a boot, I had only 155 meg of RAM used. It's possible that a few of these things that have come out, like OpenOffice and now I've started Firefox, maybe hogging a little bit of that RAM there. But still, again, it's only using a quarter of, well, 31% of what's available. So I actually gave it 800 meg, but it seems to be saying I gave it 783 there. CPU usage is pretty even, really. Yesterday I had about 13% CPU usage, so I was pretty happy with that. File systems, it's using ext4 on the home and root directories there. Let's have a look at the kernel version. So where are we? I better find it in a second. Won't be tools, that's right. Some distros come up with things in different directions. So yeah, we're looking at 2.6.38.7 there. So of course the numbers that you really want to be concerned with are 2.6.38 there. So interesting software selection that we have here. But more importantly, this little join Mageia community is really trying to they're really trying to get their community up and running, because as they say, it's a new distribution based off Mandriva, whichever. You can see the goals that they're trying to do there and how you can help. So if you've got a bit of time, you may be able to help them. See, a few minutes, a few hours, a few weeks or more. So something you might want to have a look at. Right, I think we should have a look at the package manager. I'll just quit out of this. Quit all these other things. Yeah, we might leave that one up actually. We'll go to them. We'll leave it. Right, of course you can get to the package manager through this control center, but we'll just go through administration first and start up. I've just got to put in my password. It's interesting, isn't it? They say Linux or something, is it? Oh well. It's the sort of sign I expect to see on Fedora. Or a similar sign for a similar icon for the SE Linux. I don't know. As a home user, SE Linux tends to get in the way of what I'm doing rather than help it. Of course, it gives you extra security, so it might be important to you. So if I'm going to, let's have a look at something a little bit weird. Stockfish. See if it's got it. Yeah, it doesn't have it. I'm not surprised. I installed GNU Chess yesterday. So yeah, you can see GNU Chess that I've installed that there. Maybe I can install something else. Phalanx, maybe? No. So these are common chess packages, and then it's not there. So there's a little bit of limitation in there. It doesn't have VLC, but for fun we'll install it. I might even have to cut the video. I don't want to bore you through a download. VLC. Okay. And see, they seem to have a lot of this stuff that they wouldn't have had previously, DVD nav and stuff like that. I didn't think they had that before. I might be wrong. But before, when it was under Mandriva, it was difficult to, well, more difficult to get codecs for free, because the patent issue, and I guess they wanted to make money from providing proprietary codecs. So we might cut this here, I'm not sure. See how long it takes. I'd like to just point out that the package manager is a lot quicker than some might suggest. In fact, so quick I'm really quite amazed. Once it's downloaded the packages, I found it to be very quick. So yeah. So you can see it is actually quite quick in installing these packages. I don't think I'd have to do a test to compare it against the Debian-based distros or even Fedora. Of course, Fedora has that little advantage too on updates, that it has the Presto plugin. I'm not sure if this package manager has that. Not that it's totally relevant for when you're installing a new package, but rather updating. So yeah, it's just got this download to do. I might even just leave it in there. We should have a look at a couple of these other packages that we've got here. So we've got Ikiga. I don't use Ikiga. Empathy. I found that quite buggy lately. In Linux for You and Me had a few bugs with it too, just receiving and sending messages and verifying that. Epiphany, the wonderful Epiphany web browser. I really think that's underrated. You guys should have a look at that. Evolution. I would have preferred to have Thunderbird, but that's me. Evolution. Some people like that for enterprise use. Firefox, as we said. Network Center. This is interesting. Network Center is not NM applet as I'm used to. I think. Help here. I think it's, yeah, see, it's a little bit different. So I'm used to NM applet, which comes default with GNOME. I'd have to look into what that package is, but what have we got? Remote Desktop Viewer, which is probably a VNC type viewer or RDP. I'm not sure. Have to look into that. We've got the LibreOffice, but we're lacking the database program. But they've got some nice icons now. Fspot rather, Gimpy, yeah. Image Viewer, which is just the eye of GNOME there, and Inkscape. I found this to be quite interesting that they included Inkscape. Found it a little, we've now got VLC installed there. I was a bit disappointed that they didn't include that. I've got to look into this Kino, not aware of that. That's one of the new ones for me. Not aware of it, completely, utterly ignorant of it. System tools. They've got this control center, which I'll bring up in a second. Archive Manager, which is a typical player. This color profiles I found quite interesting. I think it's for people who really care about the appearance of their monitor. I'm just using a VirtualBox one here, so it doesn't really matter, does it, for me? Anyway, we'll just close that. Yeah, so we've got the regional settings. I'll tell you something that was interesting. Even though I've got English Australia chosen, if we go into that other application, it might be hard coded, I'm not really sure. The tools, if we go into this color profiles, you see the spelling of color, and even in that menu before, color, C-O-L-O-R, not how we spell it in Australia. I'm not having a go at them, I really am not, but if you're going to say you've got localization set, then you want to have it set, don't you? Games, I installed Xboard. Xboard's interesting. I'm very familiar with Xboard, and it seems to have some sort of theming going on here. I've never had that before. Not that you guys would probably use Xboard, I'm not sure. But yeah, it seems to have this theming. I'm led to believe there is a project that's trying to merge Xboard into using the GNOME libraries. So that'll be interesting when that comes about. Install and remove software, of course. Preferences. Once again, color profiles is there. That was just a reflection of what we saw before. There is really nothing new that you guys need to worry about. Perhaps when we saw before there was a pulse audio volume control, and I tried to run TV time television viewer before, but no go because I don't have the right display driver. So yeah, apparently you can edit login screen settings, but that's obsolete since GDM 3. Essentially, actually even GDM 2 I think doesn't include it anymore. It's obsolete. But yeah, so interesting package selection. Some of the stuff I would choose a little differently, but I mean every distro is different, caters for different people, I guess. It's a new distro. They might even include VLC in future. I'm not sure. And considering it's GNOME, I guess I shouldn't be too surprised because VLC is built on Qt. So yeah, the other way we could test the package manager is URPMI. So we had that up before. That's right. So just log in as root. And what else could we install? I guess we could install Nano. I don't think Nano's installed, so I might have the wrong. That's why you can't talk to that like that to the package manager. You need to just URPMI Nano. A little bit unfamiliar with URPMI. I don't use it every day. Bang. So that was very quick, wasn't it? And there you go, Nano's working fine. So yeah, quite interesting how quickly that ran. I had to install the VirtualBox open source edition kernel modules to get this display level. It was really strange actually. It took over 5 minutes to install that, so I'm assuming there was some compiling going on in the background. I'm really surprised about this. I thought they would have had binary drivers. I know it's open source edition, but why is it that it would appear to be compiling kernel modules when it's a binary distro? I don't think that should be really needed. Perhaps I'm assuming something I shouldn't. I'm not really sure. Also, strangely enough, Akiga took a very long time on first run. I actually went through all the programs to make sure they worked, and I'm pleased to report that everything's pretty much stable. Or it gives you a reason why it doesn't work. But Akiga, it seems to be starting here. It wouldn't even do that on the first run. Here we go. It seems to have disappeared. We'll see if it comes up in a second. So yeah, another thing too is if we go into OpenOffice, this is my pet hate with distros, is using poor theming. This, I mean, just remember, they do all this nice work with getting the theming perfect, and just remember in Mint I showed you that the theming was buggering up. I never had any issue with theming in this, except for things like this. This is terrible. Why do we need to use themes like this when the Galaxy theme is available? The Galaxy theme, and I don't even think this is just personal preference, I really think it's just poor selection. So, and it's even the default. See this? It's default. You should be using it. That's a nice theme. I usually run it small. So if you run it small, it just looks like it does in Windows, but you know, it's the way it should be. It's how OpenOffice or LibreOffice is meant to look. Um, Now, interesting. The final thing I have to say about this is it's using GNOME 2.32.1. Of course, we all know that GNOME has moved to 3.0 and will probably come up with a 3.2 version soon. I wonder how long distros such as Mageia will be able to continue using the old GNOME before it becomes deprecated and they have to use a new version. Hopefully by that stage all this nice theming and everything comes about. Now, Mageia seems to be playing the game. It has a little bit of an error there with network settings, but nonetheless it seems to be working, so I really can't criticise it. The last thing to look at is probably that control center, which, you know, I guess the idea behind it is that beginning users don't know where to find everything, so they put it all in one place for you to be able to manage. We have software management, so install updates and all that sort of thing, configure, update frequency, hardware, manage your hardware there. It's quite nice. Network management, system, network sharing, local disks. Very nice when you open one of these things up and you see this. The presentation is excellent. I just have to say that it really is. So exit that. Security. So you can manage security. I actually even had a security advisor, not an advisory, but a scan had been done for security. It's very unusual for a distro to be so forward about these sorts of things. And you can set up your logins and boots. So anyway, without further ado, we should probably talk about its score. So, with the review having been done, what do I think about Mageia version number 1? Well, the responsiveness and speed I really think was very, very high. Boot was great, very quick, and once it was booted and all programs had settled down, it was very responsive. There are a couple of exceptions such as Ikiga, and because of that, because of that exception, I gave it 90%. It was worthwhile noting that even OpenOffice, or LibreOffice rather, it seems to be getting faster. So, stability. The only reason why I gave it a 95% as opposed to 100% was that that bootloader. If it had been, if that bootloader error hadn't come up, I would have really given it 100% because I really think that there were no programs there that misbehaved, and theming on the desktop stayed there, and there was no obvious bugginess that I could see except for that one little thing. So 95%, I think that's a very good result, an excellent result really. Package currency. Having taken a look at DistroWatch and looking for some of the key programs that I look out for, I think that it really deserved 85%. On the other hand, I don't like to see packages which are too early or too, have a sort of betaware or release candidateware making their way into a final release of a distribution. I mean, that's just a personal preference. Some people might like that. And contradicting that to some extent is the fact that I use Arch Linux. But seeing not a rolling release distribution, but rather a distribution such as Mageia, I would have thought that things like Open or LibreOffice would have been not the current or the unstable version or release candidate. I thought it would have been dead on the stable version. Attractiveness. And of course, some people might actually know that LibreOffice just got updated in Arch Linux to version 3.4, I think it is. So, different story again there. Attractiveness. I think you can really argue there that the distro is highly attractive. Everything going from the boot splash. I mean, the couple of things there. If you're going to have a boot splash, you should never see any text at all. If you're going to have a boot splash, in my opinion. So that takes away from a bit. But the fact that they had a boot splash there is great. And the ability to get rid of it using a keystroke, so you can see the boot messages. Another thing that took away from the attractiveness was things like OpenOffice. OpenOffice has good theming, provided you use it. I mean, in fact, it was that I didn't even need to install Galaxy, the Galaxy theme on other distros such as Debian. I would. So very impressed actually that it was there, but a thing that detracted from it was the fact they didn't use it, the attractive theme. User friendliness, look, it's got a control center. You can't really argue with that. That control center seems to be, lightweight. Unlike, I mean, Novelle's SUSE or OpenSUSE has a control center, but it's rather slow and it seems to lump things together. That was very clear. It had a menuing system that made things very, very clear. So I really believe that, and of course using the GNOME desktop 2.32 series, you can't really argue with user friendliness there. So I think overall, with its strengths and relatively minor weaknesses, it does deserve an 89%, which I think is an excellent result for a first release coming from a fork, which essentially is what Mageia is. So very impressed. I think that you should. The target audience really is new users to GNU/Linux, or even small Office users, perhaps. Um, that just might be a perceptual thing too, but it might be great for enterprise. I'm not really sure, but overall, an 89% and a fantastic thumbs up from me. Recommend it to your friends. Anyway, that's been another presentation by Twist Reviews, and we shall be back with news in the next couple of days. See you later, YouTube.